Of the three field assignments that students complete for this course, I think this one is usually most people's favorite one. It involves a significant amount of time spread over the course of the semester, some advanced planning and organization, but in the end, students find that things they learn in the process of completing the project make the time they have invested worthwhile. My hope with this video is that I can answer some frequently asked questions and point you in a great direction for getting started. To assist in planning and to help keep us on track for completing this project by the due date, I have broken the project into 4 manageable chunks, each one with their own due date, and the first due date comes at lesson 2. The first step in this project is to select your topic from among 3 different options and begin to line up the people you will interview. The first topic option is transition to parenthood. This is where you would interview 3 generations of women about their experiences of birth, pregnancy, and parenting an infant. In a perfect world, you might interview your sister or sister-in-law who just had a baby, your mother, and your grandmother. This sometimes works for people, but very often these specific people either don't exist, as in the case of a sister with a new baby, or are not available for some reason. This option can be done with any 3 women whose ages and births span 3 comparable generations. The second option is to interview 3 parents from 3 different families who currently have children between the ages of 2 and 8 years old. Here, questions can be designed to examine their parenting goals, parenting beliefs, and parenting practices. The third option allows you to customize this assignment to explore a topic that may interest you. We have had students interview women from 3 different cultures regarding pregnancy, birthing, and early parenting practices. We have had a similar project where parents from 3 different cultures are interviewed regarding the traditional child-rearing practices of their cultures. We have also had interviews that included women who became parents through adoption and how that differed from those who became parents through childbirth. The window is wide open here, but you do need instructor approval if you decide to go for this option. Be aware that it may be that not everyone you contact will be willing or able to be interviewed for this, so have an extra person or 2 in mind just in case. The next step is to compose your questions and conduct your interviews. The research assignment document has a good number of sample questions for both options 1 and 2, but you will likely want to compose quite a few of your own as well. For option 3, you will be composing all of your own questions to relate directly to the topic you choose to investigate. These interviews can be done in person, by email, or through some means of digital communication like a phone call, FaceTime, or Zoom. It is very important to remember that each person you interview needs to complete an interview verification form, documenting that you have indeed interviewed them for this project. If you conduct your interviews in person, make sure to have each of your interviewees sign a copy of this form, which is located at the end of the research project assignment document. If your interview is done digitally, email them the verification form and have them email you back a statement that conveys the info in the form so you can submit that by the due date. From this point on, you should be writing on your paper. Refer again to the rubric to be sure you're formatting it correctly and that you are focusing on the things you need to be focusing on as you write. 3 weeks before your final project is due, you are asked to turn in the best draft you have of your introduction and a sample of an interview summary written up so that I can give you some feedback. I find that this step helps students greatly, so if they're off track in their writing in some way, we can get you back on track before the final project is due. The last step is, of course, turning in your completed project. There are several critical things to remember on this project. Keep referring back to that rubric to make sure that you are on the right track. If something doesn't make sense, ask a question on the Raise Your Hand forum. If you have the question, it is entirely likely that at least several of your classmates also have the same question. The rubric indicates that you are to have a minimum of 5 citations to your textbook. You are citing connections you are making between what you're learning in the class and what you're learning in your interviews. As you read assignments for this class, be looking for these connections and make note of where to find the info when you need it later as you are writing your paper. A part of your score for this paper comes from the mechanics of your writing. Proofread. Enough said. This project is not eligible to submit late as an amnesty assignment. It must be submitted on time or early. While I look forward to reading these projects each semester to see all that you have learned, it does take a considerable amount of time to read and then thoughtfully score these. If I am going to devote the time required, they must be submitted on time, barring some absolutely dire and emergent situation. Even then, you will be asked to submit what you have completed by the due date. Work well ahead of deadlines so you don't get caught if something emergent does happen. Again, ask any questions sooner rather than later. This is a large project, so questions are to be expected. Raise your hand is the best place to ask them. Emails work for me too. Good luck.